What's up everybody? Welcome back to the Neighbor's Kitchen. Hey, today's video is going to be about how to prepare a poor man's brisket. If you've been around for a while, you know I love making these things because it's a great way to test new seasonings, new methods of cooking, different tools, and you cut down your time of cooking a whole gigantic packer brisket. So, without any further ado, let's get cooking. So first off, I want to talk about what is a poor man's brisket. So this nickname comes from the fact that a brisket is, usually upwards of 12 to 20 pounds, depending on where you're getting them. And they took hours to cook. I think my last brisket I cooked was a 13-hour cook, and I didn't get it up to the temperature that I wanted. So this is a great video for somebody who maybe wants to learn how to cook a brisket, but maybe you're a little bit intimidated by the price, and this is just the perfect way to start. So a poor man's brisket is a chuck roast that we cook exactly the same way as a brisket. So what we're going to do in today's video is I got some seasonings out here. I'm going to show you a super simple brisket rub you can make right at home if this is your first time, or if you just want to get into the seasoning game. There's all sorts of folks out there, thanks for being with me by the way, who this video applies to. So this, to be clear, is one way to do this. This is not the way. This is not even my favorite way. I kind of wrote this around trying to get you to try this at home, which is what we do here at the channel. So I think I've pretty much given you an idea of what to expect in this video, so I'm going to rearrange some cameras. Let's go ahead and make this brisket rub. Alright, so this is a really simple brisket rub you can make right at home. Cuts down on costs because some of those brand names are getting up there in price. It's very simple. Don't worry about writing this down because it's in the description below. But basically it's just 2, 2, 1, 1, half, half of kosher salt, brown sugar, black pepper, smoked paprika, garlic powder, and onion powder. Super simple, super flavorful, great place to start, great thing to make up. This actually, believe it or not, goes really well on all sorts of things. So let's get this going here. You're going to want a mixing bowl and obviously a measuring device. So let's get 1, 2, get our brown sugar out. Two tablespoons of that. One. This is brand new here. I had to get this today. One. See if we can keep that from drying out. And where's the half? That's a teaspoon. Half, and my onion powder is got some chunks on top. So as you can see here, we're making two. One is 3.37 pounds and the other is 3.26, so they're 1/10 of a pound apart. I'm not sure that's enough. I'm going to make a double batch. And in this case, oh darn, leftovers. So once again, there's our two. As you can see, I'm doing this rather quickly. Doesn't have to be precise, we're not baking. And half. And just get a tablespoon, a regular table dash spoon, not the measurement kind, you know. And you're going to give it a good mix. That brown sugar tends to want to stay together. It's got integrity. And just make sure you get everything combined. Probably could have done like a 1.5 batch, but whatever. I love this stuff. Yep. And there's some clumpies in there, but we'll address that later. So ignore the clumpies. Check that out. Wish you guys could smell this, but you see, so we're going to apply it with our hands. So every time you come up with a little clump, they come apart just fine. So there's that. And let's get these guys out here. If you've been around for a while, if you're a current subscriber, you might know that I have a high propensity to dry brine any piece of meat that I touch. That's not exactly a beginner thing to do. It's not hard, but it is time consuming, can get a little messy, and you need a few specialized tools. So today we're going back to the basics, and we're seasoning it overnight in some cling wrap. So this is the day before I cook this. The best thing that you can do is season your poor man's brisket for at least overnight. So keep that in mind. What we're going to do is I'm going to get a nice piece of plastic wrap here, and we'll put our seasoning over there, and we're going to lay this on the cutting board so we have a nice work surface. See if we can start out with it pretty close here. And I don't know where my scissors are, so we're just going to go ahead and use a knife. And check this out. So this one is 3.37 pounds. And as you can see, one of the other neat things about using a chuck roast as a poor man's brisket is there's nothing on this that I feel like I need to trim. Part of cooking a brisket that can deter some folks for their first time is you have to, not necessarily have to, but especially in like competition cooking, you trim your brisket. That's a whole competition in and of its own before you even ever cook it. So this is pretty good. I'm pleased with it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take the other hand and you're going to just rain down seasoning nice and even on every surface that you can find. So I like to hold it like this, and I start on the edges. And like I said, if you have clumpies, this is where the little manual labor with your fingers helps disperse it. And if you've been Googling this a while, a lot of people like to use a binder. Some of the common ones are yellow mustard. I've seen some people use mayonnaise. I've seen some people use Worcestershire sauce, the W sauce. I've found when I wrap it in plastic wrap, I don't care for the texture it gives me on the bark. So for this method, we're not going to use a binder. There's plenty of moisture in this. And since it will be in the fridge overnight, covered, it will not sacrifice any moisture of the meat. So we're just going to get this caked on. And you want a pretty hefty seasoning. I mean, that's a 2-inch thick piece of meat. So plenty of seasoning's fine. If it has any crannies like this, get in there. And as you can see, I'm just making sure to get 360-degree coverage. And we're going to very carefully switch my hand to the side we just did. And that opens up some new sides we haven't touched yet. So we're going to go ahead and do the same over here. And just pretend like you're a sprinkler system of flavor. Get it all over. Nice even coverage. Need a little bit more there. Do the same on the edges. I think we got a little bit there. Trying to keep you guys in a good camera angle. I like it. And you can see, the reason you put down your saran wrap first is anything that kind of went over it or fell off, well, now you're going to wrap it in that. So you're not wasting anything. So this is a pretty long piece of meat. And I think I'm going to put it in at kind of a 45-degree angle. Like so. Just double check it here. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Let me rinse my hands off real quick. And now we're going to wrap it up. And likely, I'm going to have to use 2 pieces of saran wrap or plastic wrap. That's okay. Oh yeah, for sure. So we got that at a 45. We go ahead and I'm going to come here, fold it like that, back over, and another one. And actually, because I don't want this to be exposed to the elements of the fridge, it will dry out a little bit, and that's not the goal. We're going to put one long ways, like so. There you have it. So this goes into the fridge overnight at the very, very minimum, I'd say 6 hours. So if you wanted to do this in the morning, start cooking around lunch, there's your dinner. Overnight, no more than 24 hours if you can avoid it. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. I'm going to get this other one done real quick, and then we're going to talk some more about how to cook these things. And there's number 2. This one was 3.26 pounds into the fridge overnight. All right, so we're not actually cooking these in today's video, but just in case this is the only video you see of mine, I feel obligated to tell you what's going to happen next. So I hope you're still with me. The idea of brisket is you cook it at a low and slow temperature and time. So a lot of people love to just be like, I got a 3.5 pound X. Temp and time, please. You got to get that out of your head. It's a guideline. Okay, so here's my guidelines for you. At 225 degrees, expect about 90 minutes per pound for beef. If you're cooking at 250, those are both acceptable temperatures for smoking. You can plan for about 60 minutes per pound for beef. Those are guidelines. What you want to do is, if you have a party or you have a set deadline, is give yourself a couple of hours at least of wiggle room. So a brisket you would let rest for about 2 hours before you carve it. A chuck roast, I usually get away with about 30 minutes before I carve it, and it comes out just great. So, with that being said, what kind of tool should you use? Well, I'm going to use my pellet smoker. But if you're just starting out, and I'm trying to encourage you to do this at home, put a little bit of liquid smoke in that wrap. Let it soak up liquid smoke overnight. Cook it in your oven at 225 or 250 for, you guessed it, 90 or 60 minutes per pound, depending on your temperature. You can cook this in your crock pot, believe it or not. You can cook this in your grill. It's all the same stuff. It's just a matter of where the heat is coming from. So, try this at home. You don't have to be a poor man to try this, but you do have to try this. Now, personally, the actual cook for these two chuck roasts is going to be in next week's video. So my brother is coming over tomorrow. He's bringing his Traeger Ranger. So it's going to be brother versus brother, Traeger Ranger versus Traeger Ranger. And we're answering a question that the internet has never figured out. We're going to test it right in front of you on camera. Do you wrap your brisket or not at the stall? The stall happens at approximately 160 degrees, but every piece of meat is different. So at 160 degrees, one of us is going to wrap our poor man's brisket and one of us is not. And we're going to put it to the test in the outro of that video to see if you really need to do that or not. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you consider liking and subscribing this video, and I hope to see you back here next week when we answer to wrap or not to wrap. That is the question. See you guys.